Still talking football now, moving across the Atlantic to England, where Manchester City took another step toward a fourth English Premier League title in the last 5 seasons after beating Wolves and Molineux. Today, the victory moves City 3 points clear of second-placed Liverpool. And we have those highlights.
And so for the last time in this so often logistically complex campaign, the champions have a game in hand. And here it comes. Sancho, Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, rolled through for Kevin De Bruyne, who sweeps City into a smooth lead.
It was, as you quite rightly say, picture perfect again from Manchester City. We saw a couple of those against Newcastle at the weekend. The weight of pass into De Bruyne's path is absolute perfection. When Kevin De Bruyne plays that ball forward, he doesn't stop and admire it. He continues his run, gets beyond that Wolves defence into the space and guides it into the bottom corner past Jose Sarr.
Sterling hooked up for Jimenez. He's got Neto going ahead of him. Jimenez, Neto, Dendonka's getting up as well. Pedro Neto, Dendonka waits!
This is an excellent thrusting counter from Wolves to get themselves back into it. Jimenez and Neto doing a lot of the work. Dendonka does so well to get up in support.
Sancho dipped in towards De Bruyne and moved on for Raheem Sterling, and De Bruyne rattles it back in, and City have their advantage back.
And admire it. He reads where the rebound is. And again, he guides it into the back of the net to put City back in front. Raheem Sterling's presence enough to put Jose Sarr off. De Bruyne, with the help of a slight deflection.
De Bruyne, he's kept going. Kevin De Bruyne, oh, beauty! A hat-trick after 23.5 minutes, and that was a blistering means of completing it.
As he is a lot of the time in the Manchester City shirt, he carries the ball so well, just glides past people, he picks that up, and he's still got a lot of work to do. Look how quickly he goes about that work.
Cancelo, here goes Raheem Sterling, he's in here, Sterling, and slides City into a 4-1 lead, except that the flag is up. Sancho, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, rolls it up for Foden, and here's De Bruyne 4!
Extending the lead. Look at the position he picks up again in that space. The weight of pass to Foden. Once more, doesn't stand still. Carries his run on. Gets himself into the box, and it's, for him, a pretty simple finish. Just to find that bottom corner.
Of course, the really classy thing for De Bruyne to do now would be to follow a left-footed hat-trick with a right-footed one. But here's good progress by Neto. Fernandinho has become entangled with him, and Martin Atkinson is not interested.
They've checked this, the check's complete. No penalty given. Bit of the ball. Enough of the ball.
Sterling, De Bruyne, off he goes again. Sterling for company. Kevin De Bruyne, and Phil Foden hits the post. Review the rebound that didn't work out for City. Here's Jimenez. Bursting through Cancelo's challenge. Raul Jimenez. Cancelo. Grealish. Cancelo's through the middle. Grealish has found Joao Cancelo, and Sterling finishes off.
It ends up being 5 back and 5 going forward. Cancelo makes up so much ground. It's the simplest of tasks for Sterling. He's already missed one from that distance. He wasn't going to miss another. Another 5-star display.
Trincao. Chasing at Ake. Neves. Whang! Oh, Kevin De Bruyne. KDB's the man, and City romp to within reach of their re-coronation.
In some jurisdictions, they call that a beaver trick. 4 consecutive goals for Kevin De Bruyne, 3 with the left foot and the 4th with the right. Also on Wednesday, Chelsea got the better of Leeds by 3-0 to consolidate their hold on 3rd place. And let's have a look at the full results from Wednesday's matches now in the English Premier League. Of course, it is 5-1 victory, putting them firmly on top again over Wolves. 3-0 Chelsea over Leeds. Lukaku among the scores for Chelsea. Leicester City 3-0 at home over Norwich, and Watford held to a 0-0 draw by Everton. Those were the scores in the English Premier League today. And we are being joined now by our football analyst, former Trinidad and Tobago international, Brent Sancho, who played in the 2006 World Cup for the TNT Soca Warriors. Brent, welcome to the Sportsmat Zone. A lot of Manchester City fans are saying today that they wished this Kevin De Bruyne would have turned up last week.
That's a bit harsh.
Well, I'm just saying.
Facts.
That's not harsh, that's facts. He was missing in Madrid. There's nothing harsh about that.
It's harsh facts. It's harsh facts because I think he's been superb throughout the season, and without a doubt for me, easily one of the best midfielders in world football, and he showed it today. And it's one of the reasons why City has dominated really in the EPL and dominated in European football. Yes, of course, there's a blotch on their sheet as it relates to Champions League football, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Kevin De Bruyne is easily one of the best midfielders in world football.
Yeah, so we haven't spoken to you since the weekend, Brent. So before we continue, were you surprised at Liverpool dropping points over the weekend?
No, not at all. I've said it many times, Lance. I do think if you are to compare Liverpool and Manchester City, Liverpool gives you opportunities. They give you chance. They do have lapses. They do have moments in concentration. We've seen it many times. We've seen them give up a lot of goals. But they've been so great on the offensive side that, of course, they power through games. And I just feel that, of course, that was always around the corner. And if I was to be in a situation where there's 4 or 5 games left, in terms of consistency, in terms of what you're going to get, I would give Manchester City a slight edge.
Yeah, Brent, and that brings me to my question. Do you think Manchester City can avoid, any sort of slip-ups and just end the season and win the Premier League?
Look, I've been involved in football very, very long to know that I cannot say or predict that they are going to go through without winning. But I could suggest that from what I've seen from City, it's very hard to suggest that they're going to lose and draw a game coming up next, because what really impressed me about Manchester City is the fact that despite the disappointment of the Real Madrid result, they have come out like a team reborn, a reboot. If you look at this, of course, fixture, you look at the previous fixture again, I think against Newcastle, they've just been absolutely superb. They've been clinical, they've been hungry, they have a certain desire. It is extremely difficult, Mariah, to pick up a locker room after such a disappointing result like what happened, of course, in Madrid. It's very hard, and Pep Guardiola has been able to get into his charges' heads, into their minds, into their hearts, that they still have a lot to play for, and they've certainly been showing it in the last couple of games.
And speaking about disappointment, Aymeric Laporte picked up an injury. How concerned are you for Manchester City based on that injury for Laporte?
It's disappointing for the individual, but I think when you talk about depth in a squad, Manchester City is probably one of the best in world football. You'd have to compare them with the likes of Liverpool, maybe Real Madrid is up there. But when you talk about depth in squad and players to cover certain positions and players to come in for Laporte, although he's been outstanding for Manchester City, there are players that could even fit in there to play in that position. So overall, Manchester City, I think, is well covered in positions. And of course, they've dashed a bit of sprinkling and that with bringing in Haaland in. So, it's a team that has, of course, a bevy of riches.
Yep. Let's go back to the De Bruyne topic, because weren't we on Champions League duties? Was it us? And I was there you go. So, and I said it before the game, so it's not as if I'm saying it after or after somebody from some gilded media house internationally said it. Kevin De Bruyne, Brent Sancho, he slays in the Premier League, he slays in the League Cup, and he's not too shabby in the FA Cup. City have dominated the Premier League in the last 5 seasons, dominated the League Cup in the last 5 seasons. They have been hit and miss in the FA Cup, but that's not bad. But continental European competition, the man owes City, and of course, where international football is concerned, he owes Belgium. Why does a player of his undoubted class, Brent, go missing in so many big moments?
So it's a good question, because at the end of the day, of course, City as a football club, George, they're under some pressure within that camp to win this Champions League. Let's not make any bones about it. It's a conversation that would be happening around senior players. It's a conversation that will be happening around the club and within the club structure. Because when a trophy like that eludes a club that has been so dominant, as you rightfully said, not just in the Premiership, in the knockout stages, even in the earlier stages of Champions League, but when it comes to what matters in the Champions League phase of it, sometimes they go very well, sometimes they do go very, very flat. And Kevin De Bruyne is, of course, one of the main reasons why that happens. So you would have to think that there's something there that's not happening, whether it's mental or otherwise. It's just not something you expect from a world-class player. Because when we talk about world-class players, George, we talk about players that could do it in every single capacity of the sport, whether it be World Cup, European Cup, Champions League, you name it. And Kevin De Bruyne, that right there is where you start drawing that line under his name, thinking, you know what, he's a very, very good player in the Premiership, probably one of the best midfielders in world football, but he's not yet someone that you would think about afterwards as a genuine, bona fide, go down in the history books of one of the greatest ever. And this is simply because he has not shown up. And you're correct. You're correct to point it out, because he hasn't.
Brent, the good coaches improve average players. The great coaches can improve players perhaps who are less than average. The coaches who people say are geniuses can take any level of talent to another level. City went to the Champions League final last year. In the closed season, they added a £100 million footballer. That £100 million footballer has been a big part player. He's had he's like an extra on a movie set, Brent. The man who you see walking with the coffee in the background when the star is shooting it out with the bad guy in the foreground. Is it that Jack Grealish is so problematic to mold into the City system, or that Pep can't get through to Jack Grealish to bend him and mold him into how he wants him to play in the City machine?
I think, George, you've known me long enough, and I do have a soft heart. So I would suggest that I would give him just a little bit more time. But I'll say this to you, my friend. If he wasn't English, he would not cost that much. Let's be brutally honest here. And that's the reason why that price tag is what it is.
But let me stop you there, my friend. Let me stop you there. I'm agreeing with you 100%, but I know where you're going with this. Brent, right. We should give time to players who are coming from foreign leagues. Jack Grealish didn't come from overseas to England. He made his name in the English Premier League for Aston Villa, in the Championship, in the league below the Premier League. So it stands to reason that at £100 million, if you're going to spend that on a ready-made footballer, no cultural assimilation is needed from Jack Grealish, no language barrier, no feel of the Premier League. He knows it through and through, and he hasn't sparked. Is it Pep's failure or Grealish's failure?
But my friend, what I would say to you, he's really coming into a continental team, because we would be wrong to suggest that City is a quote unquote English team. They play very much continental style football. And again, I do think Grealish next season, I would grade him personally from where I stand. He's not 100 million, that's for sure. And I don't think, maybe as time to come when players are to leave, because you do have a Bernardo Silva who's starting to get up there in age, of course, Gundogan, etc. Maybe when the team becomes more and more his own, maybe you would see the better of him. But what I've seen from him so far, if you've asked me, George, to grade him now, I would say he's a failed project. Thus far he has been failed. Because you're right, he's not only a part-bit player, when he's actually playing, he's not a major contributor. So that's the problem. And at the end of the day, yes, he could fall in. He's a young kid. He's going to at least at some point be able to call Manchester City his own. But so far, he has failed as far as I'm concerned. And I do believe, to add to your point, that once Haaland comes in, he's going to be even more of a partner player. Because where is he going to play?
Yeah.
And I think at some point, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are going to have to make a decision. Because let's face it, City is a place where some of the top young talent and top players in world football wants to come. And I don't think Grealish could continue to have those sorts of subpar performances. And I'll add this as well. If he doesn't have a good World Cup in Qatar, my friend, I think his stock is going to drop, and I think his stock in Manchester City is also going to drop.
Yeah, a bit of a nuance here, George, because I want Brent to answer something directly, because you asked him based on your question. It sounded to me as if you were slanting the question towards Pep getting the best out of Grealish. Brent's first response said, let's give him more time. So, Brent, are you saying you're giving Pep more time to get Grealish up to speed, or are you saying you're giving Grealish more time to get himself up to speed? I just wanted to get that clear.
I would suggest a combination of both, because I think they do need a bit more time within the squad. Grealish, I think he was outstanding for Aston Villa. There's no one can argue what he contributed to Villa, but that's Aston Villa. We're talking about one of the best teams in world football in Manchester City. Lance, the only thing that's saving Grealish, I agree with George, but the only thing that's saving him from where I sit is his performances with England. And that's why I suggested that if he doesn't have a big World Cup or a good World Cup for England, and England progresses or do well in that World Cup, then serious question marks, despite the fact that I'm suggesting that he needs more time, will start surrounding Jack Grealish.
Hear you on that, my friend. Another time we'll talk about Erling Haaland and how he will have to change to fit into the Man City system and play Pep ball. That's for another time. All the best to you.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Mariah, it's yours.
Yeah, coming up later on the Sportsmax Zone, a chat with a member of Team Pressure as the group of 10 and 11-year-old sprinters get ready to compete in Kingston, Jamaica on Saturday. But next, our NBA segment to find out how the Grammy Award-winning producer DJ Khaled provided the courtside inspiration for Miami Heat to scorch Philadelphia 76ers and go 3-2 up in their best-of-7 NBA Eastern Conference semifinal series.
Thank you for watching Sportsmax on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and to click the notification bell to stay informed.